During the grade analysis process, we talked about the fact that the groups of studies are scored and that some start with high scores and they can be downgraded. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 reasons that study scores may be downgraded during this process. First is risk of bias. We talked about the fact that randomized controlled trials are the gold standard, but even when those studies are done, different things that happen during the study process could increase the risk of bias in the results. For example, the way the study participants are randomized could increase that risk. Or if a large body of data are missing from one of the groups, then the outcomes could be biased based on that. So if any reasons for concerns about risk of bias are present, then the studies would be downgraded. The second reason to downgrade studies is inconsistencies. So if a series of studies measured the same thing, but the data were widely different, then that would be a reason to downgrade the body of evidence as a whole. Now, some of this can be explained. Maybe the studies were looking at different populations or gave different numbers of doses of vaccine or even followed people for different time periods. So some of that may be explainable, but it still means that there is some uncertainty in the body of evidence as a whole. And so that would be another reason to downgrade the score. A third reason is indirectness. This can happen if, for example, we're trying to decide if we're going to give a vaccine to young children, but all of the data were completed in studies that were in adults or adolescents. So if the data don't directly answer the question that we have at hand, that would be another reason to downgrade. The fourth reason is imprecision. This is if there are wide confidence intervals in all of the studies that exist related to the question at hand. Now, this could be explained if all of those studies had small sample sizes, or sometimes we're measuring something that happens infrequently. For example, if we're trying to evaluate whether a vaccine decreased the number of infections, but it's a disease that doesn't occur very frequently, then there's going to be a small number of infections, and that could increase the confidence intervals around the data. So again, explainable, but another reason to downgrade the group of studies because it still leaves some uncertainty in what we know. The final reason is called publication bias. And this is if only studies that are showing certain things were published. And one way to figure this out is that the study authors will often look at the clinical trials that were registered related to a specific vaccine. And if they only see that a certain subgroup were published, then there could be some publication bias, and that would be another reason to downgrade the study. In the next video, we'll talk about reasons that scores would be upgraded, so check that out.